Yeah, welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning in here in Channels Television. And you know that conversation we started a couple of days ago? Well, we're looking at the manufacturing sector now because as politics gets heated up and Nigerians, we do see that there's an increase in the number of, especially the youths who are going out to get their PVCs. But it's also important to know the matters and the issues which are before us. And so the quality of the individual that we empower is very important. That's why we have Dr. Lulu Ojo. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Merit Health Limited, also former National Chairman, Association of Industrial Pharmacists of Nigeria, former Chairman, Research, Documentation and History Liaison Committee, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Dr. Ojo, good morning and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
You have your PVC?
Sure, I have.
I think that's the easiest question now.
I've been a
it's done in
for
churches.
a long time.
I've not heard of mosque. It's everywhere now. No PVC, no entry.
Maybe at your gates now we have to enter with our PVC.
Some individuals have started that.
Yes.
But seriously, yes. When you see the heightened activity, political activity, we've seen, I think, a major part of the primaries have been done, even though a lot of the presidential candidates have not confirmed, because I think they still have a window, you know, before they can confirm their vice president. But major one have been done, and they have started talking. The real debates haven't started. For you as a manufacturer, do you hear, you know, promises, campaign promises, you know, manifesto that you feel resonates with what you would want to hear from a leader, the next leader? Have you heard?
Well, thank you so much. The heightened political activities is good for us, but to me, personally, it comes with some mixed feeling that after all the euphoria and all this, what happened next? Because we have had it before. Let me say I don't work for a manufacturing company now, but I'm well briefed about what is happening in that sector, and we could discuss it. For now, I've not seen anybody talking specifically about what is going to happen to that sector. But I think this is the time that we should heighten to what our expectations are. What do we want from these leaders so that we don't get carried away? It's good that everybody is getting his PVC now. Yeah, it is good. So that they know that we matter. You know, the voters matter. Not before that they can rent people, they can do. So individual can now come. And I love the discussion that is going on, even at the family level. This morning, as I was coming, my children were asking me, are you going to be discussing who the next president will be? And I said, no, I'm going to be discussing what we expect from the next president. So it's a good thing, but nothing specific that one can hold on to from the discussion so far. Maybe it's too early, but we should be the one now putting our demand on the table that this is our expectation, this is what
exactly. I guess that's one of the reasons we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the hurdles, some of the challenges in that area, in the manufacturing area, before we go to what you would expect, you know, to be done.
Yeah, it is legion, you know. Quite a number of issues which not only affect the manufacturing, as we all know, affect the industry, industrial output generally. And
because even CEO index, I mean, the last one came out was low, it dropped.
Yeah. It's, look, virtually everything. For how long are we going to be talking about it over and over again? We've been talking about power. What can you do with that power? Do you know how many companies have shut down because of the trouble with power? Yesterday, I was in a water-producing factory, and they told me they've shut down. I said, why? I said, because they cannot afford the cost of diesel. You know, at 800, 850 per liter, that it has completely wiped out whatever margin that they have on the product that they are selling. Therefore, they shut it down. So these are things that we need to look into. You talk about credit, access to credit. It's an equivalent task to get credit. And when you get it at an interest rate of double digit. Yes, CBN come with incentive, with palliative, and what is just a drop in the ocean? It doesn't help. It's not consistent. These things are not open to ad hoc measure. If we say we want to encourage manufacturing in this country, it has to be a directed program that is sustained over the years, where they can have access to credit, they can have it at good interest rate, there could be power, the infrastructural deficit must be resolved. Even if we look at what is happening right now, to provide a basis for the conversation, what is the output of the manufacturing sector as of today in Nigeria compared to our population, compared to our potential? Between 2019 and 2020, there was a contraction, and one can understand that because of the COVID. Then between 2020 and 2021, I think we have about 6.4 trillion in 2019. It went down to 6.29 in 2020, now 6.5. If you look at that, you may see that possibly you're having some light coming in.
No, that was base year effects.
That's even the point I'm talking about.
Because I mean, after 2020, 2021 was mostly recovery because compared to 2020,
so we are actually even circulating what I can call low baseline. Look at the agricultural sector. The manufacturing sector put in about 10% of the national GDP. The agricultural sector is about 25 or 26%. You know, it is the manufacturing sector that has to actually be driving some activity in the agricultural sector, because what they produce should be an input into what the manufacturing sector is using. So if you have that kind of huge gap, that should suggest to us that, look, we are not there. And for us to be there, we must make sure that all the elements are available. And what are these elements? I've mentioned it: the power, the infrastructure, the credit, the interest rate, security. The trouble now is security. You know, there must be security for people to be able to move on. And all these are based on good governance. And that is why the heightened political activities should be of interest to us. And we should be, every time, be putting on the table, this is what we expect of what our new leader will be.
Well, what we expect from the new leader. But so you have listed these challenges, which I know is not new to anyone.
It's not new. It's just, we've been circulating it over and over.
Nigeria. So for you now, we know that most of these things will take funding.
Yeah.
The truth is the country is not generating as much revenue as it requires to meet up with everything, you know, because, of course, when you also look at our oil and gas, which is our major mainstay, our quota, we're not able to meet up. We've gone from about 1.3 million to just about a million, 1.02 million, you know, losing about 195,000 barrels a day. So our revenue is on the one side. Subsidy is also another issue. So in reality now, I don't think it's possible for anybody to solve all of this problem. What would you say you would want to be hearing, you know, from anyone who is coming to offer his or herself as a leader in Nigeria at this time? What should we be hearing?
Thank you so much. Yes, of course, we have a revenue challenge. We know that. But the big question is, what are we doing, even with the one that we are getting? You see, this is the crux of the matter. The one that we are getting, what are we doing with it? Each year you have a budget of 9 trillion, 10 trillion or sort of, but at the end of the year, nothing changed. You know, then you ask yourself, what happened to this trillion upon trillion that we are budgeted for and whatever? So what we need, not what they are saying. I think they can say anything in order to make us happy. But what we need is a leader with strategic intent. You know, because that is what our challenge is. If I become the president of this country, what are those key areas that I need to impact and the things that I need to do If I'm the minister of whatever, for Earth, for instance, what is it that I want to do? I have to be intentional about it. Because when we were having the revenue that were coming up and up, what did we do with it? So we need a leader that has that strategic intent. And let me see, the foundation of all this, there is a term that I got to hear first from Professor Utomi, Pat Utomi, who you know has been talking about all these things. This one that he called prebendalism. Then 2-3 days ago, there was a conversation on it, and it occurred to me that when we have a situation where those who are governing us have this belief that they have entitlement, they have a share in the revenue that is coming to government. And that is the problem. It's not that they are managers of that revenue, but they have a share in the revenue that is coming to government. That is where we have the problem. Therefore, all these people that are talking to us, we want to know, really, whether they have that conviction, that strategic intent to make things to change in this country. Whether they want to change the narrative for us. That is, to me, what we need to be asking them. We want to stop talking about power. We have spoken about it for too long. We have been served hope for too long. As a young man, it was about hope. Things will get better. Now I'm on the 6th floor. We're still talking about hope. I mean, hope could be a good breakfast. You can manage it for lunch. But when you start hitting hope for dinner, you are in trouble. And that is why maybe we need to change the conversation with them. You know, that look, we really want to hold you on to certain things. You know, in the business sector that we have KPIs, key performance indicators. And at the end of the year, you will sit with your boss to mark, you know, this is what we say we will do from the beginning of the year. This is what we have done. Therefore, you deserve this. I think we need to get to that level with our leaders, who need to be intentional with what they say they want to do.
Yeah, maybe the followers also have a role there, because we've seen stomach infrastructure overrule overrule intentional reasoning. You know, we've seen people vote not because they believe in the person or because they have found out about the promises of the person, but because of what they are getting at that time. So I guess the followers also have a major role to play here.
I agree with you. I agree with you. There isn't much you can preach to a man who's hungry. That's the truth. Even in the church, you are preaching Jesus to somebody who's hungry. It's not hearing you. You know, you have to take care of him. That example is even there by Jesus himself, because he fed them after speaking to them. So you have to take care of him. But, hey, we got here because of leadership. And for us to get out of here, it has to be leadership. It wasn't like this before. I mean, that's the truth. When I was in the university, guess what? We eat 3 times a day with 1 naira 50 kobo. That's it. Good meal. 3 times a day. In fact, in between meals, especially in the evening, they will put some things on the table. They will just go there and pick. There'll be banana on the table, there'll be gari on the table, there'll be sugar on the table. You just go there and pick. It is about leadership. And everything changed because our leaders now have different focus. Imagine, you're talking about heightened political activities. Imagine how much our governors have spent on their trip to Abuja in recent time. Yeah. If we can sit down and do that calculation, it will address some of these problems that we are talking about. So it is about leadership. That's my belief. And from the people that want to rule us now as president, hey, I don't know. We really need to question the antecedent. We really need to question their direction. We really need to know whether they have interest, our interest. In fact, as I was coming, I was telling them that I will say it openly here. Maybe we should beg our leaders to please forgive us if we have done something for them. No, we need them to manage these resources in our interest, because it is there. Guess what? Because of our population, we have a huge potential demand base. And that is what makes us to be so much attractive to people from other climes, and that's why they are here. India is so much interested in this place because of our population. Whatever they manufacture there, they are bringing it here for us. But we are a consuming nation. Less than 10% of what we buy is produced here in all sectors, name it. Less than 10% of what we buy is produced here. So we don't need a leader who will say, in 1 year, this 10% must go to 15. Second year, it must go to 20. By the time I'm leaving office, it must go to 40 or 50. This is what we need. And he will be ready, to follow it through and make sure he does all things that are required to make this happen. Manufacturing. Manufacturing will only happen when government wants it to happen. Have you asked yourself, why did Dunlop live here? Why did Michelin live here? I mean, it's just what is happening in the country. If you want manufacturing to happen here, then you must do things that will make it possible.
Like what?
We have mentioned it. If I have to run generator 24 hours to keep my work going, that may not, that before it was a problem, but that may not even be the big problem now. The big problem is that the cost of running the generator has more than multiply. So if you have to do that every time, if you have to borrow money at 29, 30, 35% in order to get hey, don't forget what we manufacture here, the inputs are actually from abroad. The machineries, most of the things that we need, they're actually from abroad. So, hey, talk about foreign exchange. Just a few years back, we were able to get $120, 160. It moved to 360. You say, okay, we can manage. Now it's 600 and something. You can't.
400 in the INA.
Oh, come on, leave that one. It's 600 and something. How many people are getting it at 400? And what do you get at 400? So for you to be able to pay, you pay the black market rate. Otherwise, you get nothing. And those who are ruling us, they know this for a fact. But the question is, what are they doing about it? So that's why I said maybe we need to beg them to forgive us so that they can do the right thing.
I guess, doing the right thing is not far-fetched. I think everybody knows
Honestly, it's not.
What the right thing should be.
It's not.
But, as in the case of the subsidy, conversations around that, for instance, has been balancing the right thing and the consequences, and of course, political interests, which is why a lot of people think that, at this time, nobody would want to, no government would want to, so that's also one of the things. If you talk of power, you have some groups of people who are benefiting from, the situation at this time, so I believe that we have policies. When you read through Nigerian policy, we have launch of policies and plans and everything. But I guess it comes to the political will and the interest to get these things done. So how do we, on this side, as the followers, get this thing done for you as a manufacturer? How many interactions, for instance, do you have with the Minister of Trade and Investment? How many interactions does the private sector have with the public sector to rub minds and share ideas? And maybe you talk about in the private sector, the KPGs and all that. How do you do it for the government?
Well, we will not get tired. We keep on, getting engaged and ensuring that we get the right thing. But in terms of quantum of engagement, I think it's almost on a continuous basis. We read papers. We see the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. As I was coming here, I was reading a lot of their press releases. For the sector that I belong to, the pharmaceutical sector, the PMG man, that is the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Group of the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, everybody will be engaging government that, look, this thing needs to be done, this thing needs to be done. I come back to you to say it is just about a leader who will take a decision on what must happen. Nigeria president is very powerful. That's the truth. Is all in all. It takes a decision that this is what I want, and you find out that people follow. Or it takes a decision that I don't want this, or Whatever it is, that is what has been happening. Subsidy, it's more or less like a voodoo stuff because I don't understand. We have been on it for so long. Was it not because of subsidy that we talk about PTF in those days? And what did we get from PTF? Eventually, it ended up in probe and all sorts of things. So, policy is not our problem. Execution is the problem. We've always had good policies since 1960 to date. All development plans here and there. But when it comes to execution, just like you have said, interest, this and this, and it points to the leader. It points to the leader. What is he doing? I mean, is he not aware of this? Who does not know that what is the service that you can get in this country without having to pay something for it? Yeah. But we all agree, we all just talk about it, we talk about that. And time has come for us to stop talking. And this is the time that they come to us. So this time that they come to us, we need to really engage and it need to be very strong. We need to sign a contract. Yeah. I think we got it to that level that we need to sign a contract with whoever is going to be our president. You're talking about security. 2017, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria had a conference in Abia State, Umahia, and we shouted that, look, medicines availability should be treated as a security issue. We did all the talking and whatever, package communiques sent to ministers, sent to the presidency and whatever. Hey, nothing happened until COVID came. And when COVID came, the reality now dawned on us. Because the countries that were supplying us medicine say, hey, we have problem inside the house, so we have to use it for ourselves first. Then we have to be running a tasketer. I think that intentional action, directed action from government is what we need. And it's not rocket science. It has been done in other climes, which we can learn from. We don't need to reinvent the wheel of leadership. It's there. All we just need that person that we have entrusted our sovereignty in his hand as head of government to do things that he himself can be proud of. And like I've said, it's about milestone. This year, I will achieve this. This year, I will achieve this. And what are those things that I need to put in place for that achievement? That's what we need. That's what has been lacking. That's what has been lacking. Please ask it. All of them, Shopee, this and that. Which one has actually achieved the aim for which it has been set up?
All right. And Dr. Lulu Ojo, Chief Executive Officer of Merit Health Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you.
We'll stay on this conversation, especially as Nigerians get more excited about getting their PVCs and gear up towards the election so that we're not just voting for parties, but for individuals.
No, we need to do that.
That can handle
the
issues.
Who will be intentional and who will lead us to that place that we want to
the
be.
promised land.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back from that break, we'll head to the markets. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning on Channels Television.